Next topic, man. Talking about some Sony stuff. So we are coming off of a historic weekend, but not historic in a good way. you know, um, like this is so bad because. And Jared, can you hold on? Let me block this dude, bro, because I don't know what propaganda he's doing, dude.
Who?
I'll tell you after the show.
Oh,
I can't say that out loud. But so Sony had a historic weekend in a really bad way because of the fact that Kraven did terrible in the box office this weekend. So I want to read a couple things about Sony and we'll talk about it. So here we go. Sony and Disney's deal has reportedly never prevented Spider-Man from appearing in any of the Sony spin-off films. Tom Holland's Spidey can be used. Sony thought audiences wouldn't accept him appearing in non-MCU films, and the multiverse established definitive boundaries. Okay, now I have a few more Sony things. Sony insiders say that the studio should be more selective in choosing Spider-Man characters for potential future film franchises. One analyst says you can hire a different Spider-Man, one for a Sony U film. It doesn't have to be Tom Holland. Another thing here, Sony's deal. Oh, I think this is the same thing. Okay, so I say all of this to say that Craven really struck a hard like Craven's failure is like a meeting on a Sunday night. You know what I mean? Like we're calling a board meeting right freaking now because I don't even think it did 10 million this weekend. I'm pretty sure the opening 11 million. That is
bad.
That is bro. I mean, bro, I used to work for a small business, bro. We did more profit than that. You know what I mean? Like in a weekend. So this is really, really bad, bro. And to be honest, I want to just hear how you feel about Sony and where they're at. And, there were obviously rumors about them selling their properties. I don't think that's true. You and I have been through that already. But I do think that there might be some more, they might be wanting to shop the Spider-Man content more to the MCU. There might be a change to, how the films are going to be now. So where are you at after Sony's failure, but also knowing that Kraven is like the last villain film in this Sony universe?
So I've only seen two of them. I've only seen Venom 1 and Venom 2, and I was planning on seeing most of them, or all. And then they come out and the reviews are such trash that, like, listen, my time is valuable. I spend it wisely. Like, if I know a movie is that trash, I'm just not going to waste my time. But it does bother me because there are, like, pretty much all of them are great characters. Venom's a great character. I love Kraven. I love Morbius. I even love Madam Web. All of these movies, like, should have been cool. And now we find out that they could have, like, used Spider-Man and they didn't have Spider-Man in any of these movies. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah. So I do have a little rant that I want to go on because I do think that this is a little deeper than this, bro. I do blame both the MCU and Sony for this, bro. Because I do firmly believe that Feige and Holland have a hand in why Spider-Man was not used in Sony. And I think it's fair. Why? Because, Sony just hasn't done the best with their villain-led MCU films. And I can see Feige saying, like, we want to keep Holland for the MCU. And it was kind of hinted at that when Sony yanked Holland, from the MCU. And they were trying to put him in Sony stuff. And Holland was like, yeah, I ain't doing that, bro. So we understand that this has been a cockfight between between Sony and Marvel. And the reality is they both need to put their pride aside, bro, and make the Sony universe a part of the MCU and do it the right way. Because at the end of the day, the only people that gets robbed is us as fans, because, for example, Morbius could have freaking set up Blade. Like, I'm freaking reading the comics, bro, and I didn't know, Jerry, that Morbius ends up biting Blade, and then Blade is able to walk in the daylight because of his bite from him. You could have easily done a Morbius film with a Sony MCU tie-in where Blade is like hunting him. And I think that could have been a dope film. Like, Sony has tried movies with little to no ties to Spider-Man, and they have not even put in the effort to include Spidey, when in reality, all they got to do to save each film is just include freaking Spider-Man. Like, if you can do a Kraven movie, or if you can do a Spider-Man movie with Kraven, the film would be successful. And But with that being said, it isn't just Sony, bro, that's folding. Marvel Studios also has not done well. And I do think that what the MCU has done hurts Sony as well. And I think that like both of their failures kind of make this worse for me personally, because the multiverse saga has been the biggest downfall of all time. And for all you people that think I'm an MCU shill, hear me clear, okay? Because I'm about to crash out. Now, what people don't realize, bro, is that people think that Marvel not having a plan and throwing things together at the last second is something that is new. But the reality is that's how Marvel Studios did the freaking Infinity Saga. The Iron Man 1 script was not done during the freaking even filming. Endgame had multiple rewrites and multiple retcons happen. Even the fact that like Joss Whedon threw in Thanos in the end just because he liked Thanos, and they just end up going with him at the last second. The thing is that since there were only a few movies coming out each year, Feige was able to save continuity and sift through it. But now, bro, we have multiple shows, right? We have all these other projects coming out, and Feige just can't do it. And this
That's
is
why
why
they're so short.
Yep. And this is why, bro, as fans, bro, we've been done dirty. Fun fact. Fun fact. The Multiverse of Madness, which you and I talked about like earlier, that is the movie that really ruined this, because there was a whole plot where, Wanda was known as the daughter of Magneto. And there was going to be a scene where Magneto and Professor X talk with Doctor Strange. And basically, Magneto tells her, I'm going to kill her. Like she is too powerful. I'm going to take her out. And Professor X and freaking Magneto both agreed to kill freaking Wanda. Not to mention, and Wanda Vision, right? They also scrapped the fact that those commercials where Doctor Strange reached out to her and that there was going to be a tie-in to the mutants through that too. Even Spider-Man, he was supposed to be in freaking Captain Marvel 2, but got shifted after Sony tried to yank their rights back. Marvel also did not recast T'Challa after the tragic death of Chadwick Boseman, which hurt them because T'Challa was supposed to be one of the centers of the MCU. We got Venom in No Way Home, but for some reason, Venom doesn't join the freaking battle. We also find out that the symbiote hive mind is a multi-reverse thing that they don't focus on. Even though we're in the multiverse saga, there's just many things where we get these little anecdotes and then the ball just gets dropped. And not to mention the identity politics that gets shoved into almost all of the MCU content that makes it even worse. So not only are we getting a bad plot, we are also getting political jargon that is thrown into our freaking content. Now, there is a hope. The hope is that, after this saga, right, we have one Earth and we can just go back to maybe a connected storytelling universe. But with the multiverse saga, bro, the main issue is when you do anything with multiverses and different Earths, you have to plan for it. You have to have a way to make everything work. And when Sony has a whole Spider-Verse, that makes sense, that we can understand, and it is a Marvel property. But when you go to Marvel Studios and the multiverse is a mess, not to mention you have a random Sony villain universe, it just makes Marvel as a whole look like a mess. And this is why, bro, I believe James Gunn is in a better position with the freaking DCU, because he doesn't have all the properties like split up. He has an open board of DC characters that he can freaking use. And look, I understand like the first 10 to 10 years, this is the first shared universe that we've ever had that dug this deep. I understand you had to make up a lot of stuff, but how come like after the freaking Infinity Saga was done, Feige doesn't take his team and say, hey, how do we learn from this? How do we make sure this doesn't happen again? They could have spent maybe 3 years, putting the MCU on autopilot, just releasing projects that they know are going to make bread while planning for what's next. But I do think Marvel is responsible. Like Marvel Studios is just as responsible for Sony. And when both of these companies are doing trash stuff like this, it just hurts everything, bro.
Yeah, I also think like Multiverse of Madness. They called the movie Multiverse of Madness, and they didn't actually do well with the concept of the multiverse. Like that was the movie that was supposed to hype up the whole multiversal saga, and it didn't. And they sidelined Doctor Strange for America Chavez, which was this woke BS. Nobody asked for her. And like, listen, there are some, like, I'm not against diversity or anything like that. I love Black Panther. I even like Captain Marvel. But like America Chavez defeating Wanda was a bad move. It's a Doctor Strange movie. So to launder her in and have her take the biggest moment from the movie, what the hell was that? They failed with Black Panther 2. Again, laundering Shuri to the Black Panther, and they should have just recast T'Challa. And what was the other one that we were talking about? Oh, Ant-Man, which, listen, I like Ant-Man. I recognize it's not an amazing movie by any means. And that was another movie where a lot of it went wrong because that was the movie that was supposed to build up Kang, and it didn't do that. So you had one movie that was supposed to build up the multiverse, failed. You had another movie that was supposed to build up Kang, failed. But the Multiverse of Madness one stings even more because that was the one that, like, there are so many things you could point to as to, like, well, why did you make that decision? Why did you choose to put America Chavez into the movie? Why did you choose to have America Chavez in the movie and have her sideline Doctor Strange in his own movie? Wait, you're going to use Professor X and Magneto and you didn't do that? What are you, out of your minds? Especially when a lot of the first few phases of the MCU, one of the things that people loved were big deal characters, the characters they did care about being a surprise to be included in these movies, but when you get America Chavez, it feels like she was laundered because I might have not, wasted my time watching this movie otherwise. If I knew America Chavez was going to be defeating Doctor Strange in the end. And then the Sony universe definitely doesn't help. Marvel comes on in the beginning of those movies. Whether people understand it's different or not is irrelevant because it does carry the Marvel name. These are Marvel characters, and they have lasting effects because all of those villains are great. Listen, I read a ton of comics, and I will tell you those villains are great villains. And now you have a lot of fans who are probably going to not be as interested. If you tell them, Madam Web is going to be in a movie, people are going to be like, oh, not her again. I gave her a chance and I didn't like her because the movie sucked. But Madam Web is actually a cool character. The other thing here, do you think that they should have used Tom Holland or a different actor for Spider-Man in those movies?
I think that you have to use a different one.
Okay, so it's okay for Sony, but it's not okay to do with Batman.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I don't want that, but look, I'm not talking about what I want. I'm talking about what they probably should have done. That's
what I meant.
Yeah,
that's what I meant.
Yeah, I'm saying if what's done, same with Batman, right? If what's done is done, then you gotta do what you gotta do, and that's kind of how I'm if what's done is done, then you just gotta rock out with the two Spider-Man. If I had it my way, combine both, I think that's the best way to do it. But if what's done is done, then you just rock out with two, Spider-Man.
That's my biggest problem with the Sony universe.
But Spider-Man is different than Batman because Spider-Man has multiple different variants that are super cool that you could do. Bro, you could do Scarlet Spider or Spider-Man 2099. You know what I mean? You don't have to use Peter versus when it comes to Batman, if it ain't Bruce Wayne, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, you could use Jace Fox, but
true.
Anyway, here's the thing. I think villain-centric movies are a good idea. I still do. I don't think that Sony is fair proof that they don't work because I just don't think Sony put passion and love into these projects. I think they were just corporate slop. And I do think that villain-centric movies could work. I also think that the only real other example isn't that really the best example because it's Joker, and Joker isn't a fair assessment of a villain-centric movie. But when you look at Revenge of the Sith, that's an example of a villain-centric movie that works. The only problem is that villain-centric movie has a hero. And I think that villain-centric movies can be a good thing and can be good movies and don't always necessarily have to have a hero. Like, I think Clayface could be a good movie. I do. I think Clayface is a great character. I love Clayface. I did a TikTok on it, so check it out. Clayface is a great character. And I, like, when I first started reading comics that had Clayface in it, I was annoyed. I was like, this character is lame. Like, he's a monster. That's corny. I don't want. And then I grew to actually really like the character because I got to know him. And sometimes that happens, and I'm pleasantly surprised. But I think that once they do figure out villain-centric movies, it's just going to open up a whole new subgenre of comic book movies that could be really great. It's just a shame that we have such poor examples that it seems like the concept doesn't work at this point.
I think that when it comes to villain-centrics, it differs per hero. Like
per villain, you mean?
No, like per because each villain has their hero. I guess that's what I'm saying. Like it's different per one. So like I think that with like Sony, you do it where we can get a movie from the villain's perspective, but they fight Spidey in the end or something like that. Like versus where like Batman, you can do a Penguin show and it can work. But I do think that like you have to have what is the word that
adversary?
No, it's kind of like I'm gonna make up my own term.
An
Kind of like no. So the term that I'm gonna call right now, if it's not real, it's called like a shadow. Basically saying like Spider-Man's around, but like Spider-Man doesn't know this villain exists yet, and the villain is going through so much and all these things are happening to them and they're blaming Spider-Man. And like I would love a perspective like that to where like Spider-Man saves someone and here's an example, right? You know how in like Batman, I'm using an example. I remember in Batman versus Superman, right? When Bruce Wayne is saving that girl and then he looks up and sees Superman flying by. That's how I feel like a villain movie could work because then they eventually cross paths in the movie. Like if we can lead up to that, I would love that type of like
tricky because I do think that, and I'm not against that as an idea. I just think that like the second you make like say you were to do a Doc Ock movie, the second you make Spider-Man a prominent character, you kind of destroy the movie because and that maybe is why it's so difficult because you need to have an adversary for a villain movie to work. You still, there's got to be someone he's opposed to.
Yeah.
But the second you put it's Spider-Man or Batman, it's hard to root for the villain as the protagonist.
Yeah.
So again, we're YouTubers. We're not moving.
You're right. And I mean, and that's where you see like James Gunn is kind of testing the waters because like there's rumors of in that Bane and Deathstroke movie, like there's rumors of Damian and Nightwing being the main. I mean, like being the adversaries in that film. So like we have guys that are trying to test the waters to see how it works. So they'll figure it out. Like maybe it's a sidekick thing. I don't know, but I do think that like when it comes to certain villain-centric films, like the hero has to be involved. Like, Penguin worked, but Penguin is different than a lot of stuff that we've seen,
Yeah. And Penguin was cool, and maybe that's a good way to do an adversary is like the adversary is another villain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I love this podcast, man. Yeah. I just love how we get into these deep thoughts. Okay. Let's see if there are any chats here. Marvel movies haven't been good since Civil War, not to mention Endgame and Infinity War. Bro, Shang-Chi was a really good movie. I really like Shang-Chi.
Shang-Chi was great. It's actually Shang-Chi.
Sorry, Shang-Chi.
Aquafina, she kept correcting.
Kept
correcting her. It was like Shang. Yeah.
Yeah, she would kill me. I still believe Kevin Feige. I know Kevin Feige is not an idiot, 100%. Multiverse of Midness.
Seriously.
Morbius, Ghost Blade, Ghost Rider, one of the one movie spirits of vengeance. And yeah, bro, I I was like when I'm watching Morbius, I'm like, why isn't Blade in this movie? Like, why not?
You watched that movie?
I did. Never again.
Oh.
Yeah, so I tried to watch all the Sony movies before Kraven because it was like the last movie. So I stomached through Madam Web and all that, dude.
Yeah.
One more time.
Morbius, like, oh man, the J. Michael Straczynski run of Amazing Spider-Man is probably in my top 5 favorite comics of all time.
Yeah.
But that's where Morbius had his first appearance. I'm pretty sure it's like the first arc too. And it was sick. Like Morbius is a really cool character. And so is Madam Web, so is Kraven. Venom is like the obvious one. But I think Kraven's cooler than Venom. I always did.
That's a hot take. You should make a tick. You should make a tick. Talk about that.
I should.
Morbius, Blade. Oh, you said that. The movies might as well be an AI generated facts at this point. Yo, speaking of AI, so Comics Explained said that he's on Unreal Engine, and basically he's trying to create the 616 universe in Unreal Engine, and he's basically going to make a YouTube video touring each place in his Unreal Engine universe. He's putting like,
did they give him access or something?
Yeah. So he say he's trying to like learn. He's putting like a lot of bread into it too.
Bro, that is like, that would make him the greatest YouTuber of all time.
100%, bro. That's next level.
Yeah.
By
the way, like, you know, there are so many people online I see that like someone mentions anything about like AI and like photos or film, and someone's like, "Oh, you're a loser. You're a loser."
Yeah.
And then when it's AI for another industry, they're like, "Oh, it's okay. It's okay."
Yeah.
Like, oh, so all these other people, you're okay with AI taking their job, but when it comes to your industry, it's off.
By the way, guys, this thumbnail's AI, so y'all can hate all you want. It helps us out.
What do you mean it's AI? It's the photo of the poster.
No, but I'm saying like the captions and the arrow. I don't do that, dude.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, so AI. So I have like an AI like editor thing that my friend actually put me onto. Shout out to you. And it basically captions. So now I sometimes change like the words, but you can like you basically write a description of what you want, and then it'll like tell you. It'll like make its own thing. You just have to upload the image, then it'll add like the edits around it and stuff.
Okay.
It's super cool. But anyways, Sony can go to hell for what they did to the Spider-Man characters. Facts.
They still have done a lot of good.
Oh, here comes the caping, bro.
They have, bro. Every Spider-Man movie we've gotten is Sony.
And Marvel's, well, the last 3, but we're not.
That's still the Raimi trilogy and the the Spider-Verse.
Yeah, that's that. Well, Spider-Man 3 was trash, but Spider-Man 1, 2, yeah.
Spider-Man 3 was trash.
We got 4 good ones. We got 4 good ones. All right.